What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Table That Discussion, Fantasy Alarm TV. I'm your host, Howard Bender. With me here, we got our regular crew back again here on a Tuesday. No condiment talk today, so Jon Impemba, obviously, welcome to return. How are my panelists doing over here? Adam Ronis, Jen
Well,
Piacenti, Justin Fensterman, Jon Impemba. How are we feeling, folks?
better than you because you have the wrong day. It's not Tuesday, it's Wednesday.
It's
But hey,
Wednesday. Yeah, you had me confused for a second. I was like, wait a minute.
It all blends together. You know what? I was just with you guys on the Tuesday roundtable discussion. So yeah, there you go. Isn't that the problem with quarantine anyway? Is that every day just blends together? I don't know what time it is. I don't know what day it is. Every once in a while, I get an alarm that goes off on my phone, and it tells me that I'm supposed to sit in front of my computer. So that's what it is. Everybody
Yeah,
else, all right?
I'm with you
Yeah,
right
we're
there.
good.
It seems like everything is just blending, as you said. Half the time, I don't know what's going on. We're waiting for sports to come back, so all the news is typically the same. But thankfully, we're starting to get some more updates that we can actually talk about here.
No doubt about it. We got a couple of things that we can talk about here. Let's just start off. Let's just get it right out of the way because I feel like we end up having to start every show with a little bit of MLB talk. The latest report now is that the Players Association sent another counter proposal to the owners, talking about the number of games that they're going to do. Uh, Speaking earlier to Jim Bowden, and we'll cover this on the Fantasy Alarm show later on tonight as well. But basically, with the MLB draft that's actually tonight, word is that if something doesn't get done by the end of the MLB draft, if they don't come to terms, Commissioner Rob Manfred says that he's going to step in and just mandate that 50-game season, and everybody's out of luck then as far as negotiations go. So, I mean, does that give you guys a little bit more confidence in having a baseball season? Are we still at that something's better than nothing? Or are we just really ready to just walk away?
I'm ready just to walk away. I mean, to be honest with you, I'd rather the commissioner, if he's going to make that standstill decision, making it half a game, make it 80 games. Why are you giving us a 50-game season if there's still enough time to play it? Like, if you're going to go ahead and use that power that you have, make it 80 games. That's apparently on the table per se. Like, the players are offering one middle, the owners are offering the other. Meet in the middle, come to an agreement that way. But I've been long on the table saying I'm done with baseball at this point.
he doesn't have the power to do that. That's why 50 games is what he can implement. And I think the owners wanted this the whole time, and that's why they keep buying time and going back and forth because they realize the more time passes, they're not going to be able to play 80, 70 games or whatever. So I think the owners are intentionally doing this. But the thing that I read today was there was one owner who said he knows a few players that will not play the 50 games. And that's the problem that you will have. There are going to be some players that say, you know what? It's not worth me playing 50 games at the prorated salary to risk health or whatever. And they're going to sit it out. So that's going to be the biggest thing now going forward. If we do get 50 games, you're going to have some players that don't play. Or that's at least what one owner said.
So are we looking at possibly foregoing salaries? I mean, that's one of the things. It's guaranteed contracts in MLB. So if a player opts to sit out of that 50-game season, he's just going to forego that salary. You see that happening with a number of players, Jen? Trevor Bauer not included.
Yeah, well, I think it could happen with a few players, and it could be part of the negotiation tactic too for the future. Just like, you know what, we're not going to just be walked all over and you force us to play 50 games. There are some players that have enough money that they might do it. I think it's definitely a possibility. I'm totally annoyed by this, completely just frustrated. And a 50-game season mandated by the commissioner is just even almost worse for baseball. The fact that the commissioner has to mandate them to play, I don't know. I'd almost rather them just not come back to 2021.
Yeah, then if that's going to happen, we have to stop talking about, are we worried about the popularity of the sport declining then? I mean, if that's what you guys are saying, then all those debates are over. And I never want to hear that question again, because out of sight, out of mind, people are going to forget about the sport. I think something's better than nothing. Even 50 games, maybe you come up with some proposal for an expanded playoff or more tournament-like atmosphere like the NHL is doing. Then you can have baseball. But out of sight, out of mind, we're complaining so much about the popularity of the sport. You don't have the sport it's not going to have as much momentum going into next year. So that's why I'm cool with the 50 games.
Well, they're not going to. They're actually not going to not have a season. Whether Manfred is the guy who implements, he either makes it happen or I mean, that's it. They could have guys sitting out. They are going to play a season. The talk I hear is 16 teams in the playoffs for that, which actually is kind of funny because that puts it at more than 50% of the teams who are actually going to make the playoffs. And they're not talking about just this year, but they're also talking about making sure that happens next year as well, which will obviously help boost the revenue. Now, how they're going to format these playoffs, some people are talking about a best 2 out of 3 with the original series. People are talking about the possibility of how they're going to seed it, whether it's going to be division winners, whether it's just going to be based off a winning percentage. We will see a baseball season. The question is do we care about fantasy baseball for this season? Even the hardcore players, 50 games, that's just not enough. I mean, how many times, Fancy, you and I talked about this on Monday night? I mean, Adam, how many times do you hear somebody use the old sample size argument in any kind of analysis at all? Like, no, man, sample size, and you got to be able to make sure that, he gets out of it. I can't talk BABIP unless that happens. I mean, is the fantasy season rendered useless in a 50-game run?
I mean, it's going to come down to each individual. Some people will look at it and say it's not enough, it's not worth it with everything else going on. Other people get it. You got to remember, there's some people that only play fantasy baseball, and I think they will take that. And you'll just have to come up with maybe a different format, or you can do the conventional way, Roto, but you understand that there's just going to be so much more luck involved. And, maybe you don't look at batting averages as much because hey, anybody can get hot over a stretch of, 3-4 weeks. And the guy that you're like, well, he's going to hit 220. Well, now I'm not going to downgrade him as much because he could hit 300. We saw Joey Gallo last year. I mean, Joey Gallo, the first few months of the season, was tearing it up. So that could happen with a lot of players. So it does change a lot of things. And it just makes it wacky. And some people might like that, especially maybe the player who struggles in fantasy baseball. This might be more appealing for them. They feel like they have a better shot.
Now, one thing that Jen and I actually discussed on our 5-on-5 that's coming out this week was how free agency and a shortened season for baseball is going to be pretty interesting for fantasy baseball. Like if Mike Trout gets cold for 2 weeks, that's, a third of the season already. Like, are you going to hold on to him, or you need to win categories? Are you going to start cutting guys that you draft in the first or second round after a week or two of a slow start because you need to pick up somebody hot off the waiver wires? It's going to be interesting to see, if you are in a fantasy baseball season, how active the waiver wires are to try to accumulate those stats if you're in like a roto league.
How do we as a site tell people not to play fantasy baseball? I don't understand that.
We're not telling them not to play, but we're just saying we're going to give them the strategies. We're going to say this is what we think. Downgrade starting pitching, increase high-end closers, go for guys who just elite bats. I mean, we're going to give them the strategies, we're going to give them the tools. But again, for me, it's not about it changes the dynamic of the game so much that it's hard to get a read on that.
No, 100%.
Hard to get a read on that.
100%, Howard. And I get that. And a lot of people, and I've said this before, and I think I said it to you on Monday, Howard, is that I don't want people to think that, okay, 50 games, it's going to make things easier. No, that's not true. It's going to make it actually harder. What Jon just said, especially about guys like Mike Trout, you're going to have to be on that waiver wire more aggressively than ever. You're not going to be able to sit on your team for the month and a half to see how your roster composition reacts and everything like that. So it's going to make things harder, and I think that'll make for us to be better players at the end of the day, because going into next year, we'll know exactly what it takes in a shortened season once it's lengthened again, in terms of not being as patient with certain players, not your superstars, but those mid to late draft picks that you have. You're going to be rotating your rosters in and out a good amount. I'm cool with that. I like a new challenge, and any hardcore baseball fan, like Adam was saying, I think will be into it as well.
I like a new challenge too, and I'm kind of excited about doing it. And I'm definitely going to play, but I don't think it's going to make people better fantasy baseball players in the long run, because the way that you're going to play this year is nothing like you should play in the future, assuming you play a full 162 game season in the future. So it could give you a little bit of a false idea of what fantasy baseball is like. But as far as playing it, yeah, it's fun. It's a new strategy. It's a different way. I'm still going to play, but I'm not going to. It's going to be a new game in my head. It's not going to be like the way I've ever played.
Like how in the world are we all going to be able to tell people that it's not not a sprint, it's a marathon?
We
right?
won't be able to do that.
Every standard cliche. You know what? I should have asked you guys this, and you know what? I will. As Adam makes his way in and out of the room here, how about this? Who would pick the most unlikely MVP of the fantasy baseball season? Right? I mean, we've talked about it. You remember the year Eric Thames came out and hit 16 home runs in the first month of the season? Years and years ago, I remember when Chris Shelton came out and bopped like 12 home runs or 14 home runs in the month of April. Like all of a sudden, you get that guy who starts off, like Adam said, Joey Gallo with the batting average. So who's probably your most unlikely MVP of the season? I'm kind of feeling Shed Long, maybe of the Seattle Mariners. Dude's going to come out like a house of fire. He's going to have 6 home runs with like 10 stolen bases. He's going to bat .462. You'll never hear from him the rest of the way, but in a shortened season like that, well, that's just fantasy gold. John, who do you got?
I don't know. I mean, if we're trying to think short season, hot streak, someone that I was high on in redraft leagues this year anyways, because I wasn't totally buying into the Houston Astros dive there, was Alex Bregman. So I'll stick with Bregman and the Astros there.
Chalk City. Jen, who you got?
I'm going to go with an Astro too. I'm going to go with Carlos Correa, though. Oh. That guy's only good for very short periods of time. Nobody's going to draft him, and he's going to seem like a shock when he comes out and he's suddenly really good. He can play for a couple months and play at a really high level. He's just over the season, he gets too injured. If he stays healthy, he could just be a surprise.
I think you're mispronouncing the word cheat. It's not play, it's cheat. Fensty, how about you?
I'm going to go with one of Jen's favorites, Starlin Castro. He had a little power combo from him. Hey, you want us to not go chalk?
Yeah. I love it.
Late.
I love it.
You take a better lineup in the league and pick someone maybe that's not in the upper echelon of the team. Boom, Starlin Castro. That's what you get.
Adam, what do you got? Michael Conforto, Wilson Ramos.
Different Met, actually.
Pete Alonso?
No, JD Davis. He just needs the opportunity to play with the DH. He will. And we've seen him go through some hot streaks. JD Davis.
JD Davis. So there you go. Some early MVP MLB picks that mean absolutely nothing right now. Let's table the baseball discussion here. Let's get down to some fantasy football. The Fantasy Alarm NFL Draft Guide was launched on Monday, right? Today's Wednesday, so 2 days ago. We launched it. You got all your rankings, anything from PPR to 2QB to Dynasty, everything. We've got all of that covered. Rookie, sleepers, and busts. I wrote all 3 articles, so you guys can check all of that out. And then, of course, everything that the guide offers is right there in front of you. It's a living draft guide, so that means that it's continuously updated, and the content will trickle out so that as things change in the news, we can make sure that you're getting the most updated information. You want to pick that up at a 50% discount right now, $19.97. fantasyalarm.com/NFL draft guide is the URL you want to go to. And I got a little shout out for a personal thing here. An old friend of mine reached out to me, Andy Brown, and said to me that he just signed up for Fantasy Alarm. He's super excited for a fantasy football season. Why? Because his son, his 14-year-old son, just invited him into their league. So shout it out to my boy Andy Brown. Very excited about you being a part of the FA family here. And don't worry, we'll take care of Hutch. I'll say hi to Hutch because, well, it's the coolest name any kid could ever be given, especially if you grow up in my day and Starsky and Hutch was a show that you ended up watching. But Hutch, you're going down, buddy. You're going down. Your dad's going to just beat the snot out of you in fantasy football. Put some money on that. Maybe some chores. Bet some chores. I think that's going to be the way to go. So For the NFL Draft Guide here at Fantasy Alarm, what I wanted to do is I wanted to ask everybody here. I took the liberty of writing those articles for sleepers, busts, and rookies, so it's going to go around the room here. We'll start off biggest busts right now for the 2020 season. Everybody's got their eye on somebody who they just don't think is going to return the draft value. I'm not talking about a guy that you pick in the first round and he tears his ACL and sits out the rest of the year. That's not a bust. A bust is a guy that you're investing in who plays the season. You can't, you just doesn't return that value. So, I see John nodding his head here. John, go ahead.
I went Aaron Jones. Currently got 15th ADP. He had 19 touchdowns last year, which to me was a driver for how big of a season it is. I don't see him being able to sustain a 19 touchdown season. He only had about 1,400 total yards. The Packers went ahead and invested a second round pick in A.J. Dillon, who I think could be a really big red zone guy for them this year. The man is an absolute monster, 250 pounds. So for me, I think Aaron Jones is going to have trouble paying off that mid-second round value.
Oh, I got a head shake from Adam. I saw a nod from Fensterman.
It wasn't a relation to that.
Oh, you're just twitching? Oh, the guy's working on your balcony again? They're arguing? Should we go slap
the
him?
Avon lady just came by. Didn't you hear that?
Adam, can you take your webcam and walk around the apartment with you, answer the door, and put these guys right there on air with us?
Yeah. We'll ask him what happened on your balcony, Adam. We'll get to the bottom of it.
All right. Well, so if it wasn't a head shake at that, how about you? Who's your bust before Fensty has a conniption and pops right now?
For me, it's Todd Gurley. We've seen him decline. We know he has an arthritic knee. We saw last year 3.8 yards per carry, a huge decline from what we usually see from him. And I know the Rams offensive line definitely took a hit last year, but even in the passing game, 6.7 yards per reception, by far the worst of his career. And just watch him. Like, he can run north-south fine. He can't move vertically. He just side to side. He's not the same. And I know everyone's going to say, well, there's no competition in Atlanta. He's going to get all the volume. That's great. But again, as I've said, Le'Veon Bell got that last year too. He didn't do too good. So volume is great. We want that in fantasy, but I just don't think Todd Gurley is the same player anymore. Yeah, he passed his physical. Great. But this is about the longevity of the season. And why did the Rams give up on him so quickly? The Rams probably know him the best, right? They've had him, and they were quick to get rid of him. I know he's getting paid a lot, but I see him going late second, early third round. I'm passing on him. I'd rather take a wide receiver that I know is going to produce. I'll let someone else have Todd Gurley.
So looking at his touches and snaps from last year, I mean, he probably averaged somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 55 snaps per game. He was definitely utilized much more in the red zone, obviously 14 touchdowns that he ended up putting up. No, I don't expect him to hit that kind of an amount there. But do you think Atlanta tries to utilize him as a regular running back like he was before? Or do you think they make those adjustments? They underutilize him between the 20s and really kind of focus all of his attention inside the red zone?
Yeah, I don't want to rely on that. Atlanta's not had a good run game. Devonta Freeman did nothing last year. Yeah, he's involved in the pass game. Great. But if you're banking on those double-digit touchdowns again, you're going to be in trouble. I mean, you can't count on that. And, Atlanta should run him into the ground. He's on a one-year contract, but I just don't think he looked good. And I don't think people are, looking at that. I watched him quite a bit last year, and you look at all the underlying metrics, yards after contact, it was not good. And he was not a game breaker anymore. He was the guy that can't break tackles and make those big plays that we saw. And I think it's the arthritic knee. I mean, it's great that he made it through the season and played 15 games. But, I think that's what's clouding people's vision. They're like, oh, he's fine. He passed the physical. Take him in the third round. I'm not doing it.
So can I ask a question? Sure. Would you rather have David Montgomery or Todd Gurley?
Well, Montgomery goes 2 rounds later, so I'd rather have him.
Okay.
Wow, how high is Todd Gurley going? Like, every time I see Todd Gurley, it's like a 4th round pick at the most.
Well, I mean, I've been doing a lot of best ball 10s, and he's gone as early as 19, and sometime, and I think the late is 35 recently.
Yeah, I'm usually seeing him in the 2nd and 3rd rounds as well. But again, it's those drafts are usually running back heavy, so they go there.
They are. The running back position definitely taking a beating here. We talked yesterday on the Fantasy Alarm Roundtable. You guys can catch that on SiriusXM on demand if you want to hear that. Talking about running back with like Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon, potential holdouts. John's crapping on Aaron Jones. Adam says no to Todd Gurley. More running backs to beat up on here, Jen?
Yeah, Nick Chubb. I think he's just going a little too high with Kareem Hunt there. And he was really, really great in the first half of the season. You know, he was the number 4 running back, but once Chubb came back, he was more like the number 18 running back. He's going as the number 8 here. I think he has high bust potential. I think he's really talented. I just think that it seems pretty clear that they might try to use more of a running back by committee.
You don't think that the change in coaching staff, going with Kevin Stefanski as the OC now, and Freddie Kitchens is out the door, or actually Stefanski's the head coach, Freddie Kitchens is out the door. You don't think they adjust?
They might, but I still think that you should only expect him to be like a running back 2, and he's being drafted like your first running back. So, I mean, I'd rather draft him there and him exceed than draft him as high as he's going and see him fall.
Fence, you following this trend here, or are you going out on another limb?
I'm going out on another limb, and this is based off what we talked about on yesterday's roundtable on SiriusXM. I'm going to go with Cooper Kupp. I've seen him go in the 3rd round a lot. I've seen some people in a league that we were in, actually, Howard, go in the 2nd round. I'm not taking him in the 2nd round. Adam, you and I believe, talked about this yesterday. What was it down the stretch of 15% target share? Something like that?
Yeah, from week 12 on. They went a lot more with 12 personnel. We didn't see Kupp on the field as much.
Right. And so with that, I mean, that's just terrible right there. And you wonder, why did that happen? It's not because of Kupp. It's not health related. It's that teams are like, guys, this guy from the first half of the season, he's getting double-digit targets game after game after game. Just stay on him, make their other options beat us, essentially. So now going into this year, yeah, he's still going to be Goff's favorite receiver. So with that, if I'm a coach of any team, I'm saying put as much coverage and pressure on this guy as possible. I'm not taking him in the 2nd round. I'm not taking him in the 3rd round. I'd much rather have Robert Woods. Remember, they still have Higbee. They've got Everett there as well. I mean, I know Cam Akers isn't really a huge threat when it comes to receptions. I believe he had 30 last year, but still, we got to see how he's going to be utilized. I'm going to pass.
All right, 3 running backs and a wide receiver. Anybody want to counter anybody's bust call?
Yeah, I think Chubb is interesting because I could see Nick Chubb having a Derrick Henry-esque year. You know, he was stopped a lot at the goal line last year. And as you pointed out, the change in coaching, they definitely want to run the football. They improved the offensive line. I do think it is risky, though, at the end of the 1st round, especially in a PPR format, because we did see Kareem Hunt involved a lot. But I wouldn't be surprised if Chubb gets 1,400 yards and like 12 touchdowns. And he can catch the football. It's just they incorporated Kareem Hunt more into the passing game. I mean, we didn't see Chubb catch as many passes. But, you never want to bank on that Derrick Henry type season. But I think he can do it. It still is a little bit risky, though, at the end of the 1st round because the floor is lowered with him not involved in the passing game as much.
Yeah, and that was my point. I don't think that Nick Chubb is a bad choice. I just think for where he's going that it's a little too high.
It's tough to return value if you're not getting all the touches and you're taking in that early 1st round. So I like it. All right, from busts to sleepers. Now, obviously, the term sleeper is an outdated term. The only reason that it's still used, for those of you who want to know behind the scenes, how about search engine optimization? It's called SEO. Why? Because when Bob from accounting's doing his research, what does Bob from accounting do? He types in sleepers, NFL 2020. That's what he's looking for. Because of the extensive coverage, there is no such thing as a sleeper. However, what we do have we have people who outperform their draft position significantly, whether it's an 8th rounder who gives you 3rd round value, or if it's a 6th rounder who gives you 1st round value. That's kind of where we're at right now. So let's see. We'll go in reverse order here. Fensty, who's your favorite sleeper for 2020?
I brought this up, Howard, and we know our buddy Bob Lung loves his consistency, so I am going to follow suit and say Jamison Crowder. This guy was top 20 in targets last year, and where am I seeing him going? I've been checking a lot of ADPs. I'm still seeing him go in the 9th and 10th round area. In fact, in drafts that I've seen done more recently, it's almost like he's dropping, and I have no idea why. Yes, I get that Perriman's there. I know they drafted Denzel Mims. Am I expecting 122 targets from him? No, but around 100 in the slot, Darnold familiarity, absolutely I'll take him in the 9th, 10th round all day.
all day. Well, that's Adrian Peterson, and we're not talking about him at all. Not ideal. Jen, who you got?
Okay, I'm gonna go with. I have two, but I'll go with Deebo Samuel. So I think that he's only being drafted as like the number 27 wide receiver off the board, but he's got a big share of that really good offense. He finished among the top 5 wide receivers in yards after the catch last year, and his fantasy points per target were 2.31. So I feel like at that price, why not go ahead and grab him?
Deebo Samuel. Ryan Hallam's influence on you is obviously showing. Adam, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go more double-digit rounds, so I'm going to go with Anthony Miller. He's obviously had injuries the first couple years in the league. He had a shoulder injury in his rookie year, essentially playing with one shoulder, had 7 touchdowns last year, was banged up coming off the surgery, and Taylor Gabriel was there. And if you look, his splits without Gabriel gone, he averages double-digit points in PPR formats. It's like 7 games, but he's, double-digit points, and there's just not a lot of weapons in this offense. Allen Robinson's going to command a huge target share. He was 3rd in the NFL last year in targets. But after that, there's really not much. I mean, yeah, Tariq Cohen sprinkled into the pass game. He'll get his targets. But Anthony Miller has a good shot to get over 100 targets. And, he's going to come into the season healthy now. And we saw last year, I know it's brief stretches, but from weeks 11 to 15, he had at least 13 points in PPR formats in each game. And whether Nick Foles starts, which you would think it does, it could help the offense. I don't know if it's a substantial improvement, but it could help. And, Anthony Miller's a baller. This is his 3rd year in the league. And, you're getting him cheap. You're getting him in the double-digit rounds, and I think he could, easily crush that.
Yeah, I was going to actually ask you who you think starts under center there, whether it's Foles or Trubisky.
Yeah, I think it's Foles to start. I mean, if you look, at the, sports books, Foles is a heavy favorite. So that usually tells you something. Plus, they went out and they got him. So they'll compete in training camp, but I would think Foles wins out at least to start the year.
All right, Jon Impemba, big-time sleeper guy. What do you got?
Yeah, so I mean, I actually went with Justin Jefferson of the Minnesota Vikings. They don't have Stephon Diggs. If there is this issue with Dalvin Cook all of a sudden, they may be looking to throw a little bit more. He's being taken, in like the 13th round of 12-team drafts right now. I know he's a rookie. I know there's some issues there, possibly not getting enough work in with minicamp and all these things, but you're getting now a guy that should be a starting wide receiver in that offense on opening day, getting him in the double-digit rounds in fantasy drafts. So Justin Jefferson, for me, currently a wide receiver 58 off boards right now. So for me, I'm going with him.
All right. So is he all right? So you kind of think that, we want to talk rookies here also. Is he your guy who's going to have that big rookie impact as well?
I mean, if we're looking at the biggest rookie impact, I'm going to go chalk here, right? Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean, Andy Reid likened him to Brian Westbrook. Mahomes is championing him to be drafted. That offense is incredible. He's going to be on the field. They don't really have a strong commitment, it seems like, to Damian Williams. So, I think CEH is going to be the biggest impact rookie. And again, ADP plays that out, but I don't know if there's really going to be a rookie that can compete with him.
Okay. I didn't ask. Does anybody want to poke any holes in anybody's sleeper calls here? Anybody want to make fun of Jamison Crowder because he plays for the Jets? Anthony Miller because he's only got one shoulder? No?
He's got 2 now.
He's all good.
Fine.
He's all good.
I mean, I think Crowder's interesting, obviously, because of all the targets that he had last year. It's hard to really argue with the draft, but they did. You said they brought in some guys. They drafted Denzel Mims. Maybe there is an opportunity for them to throw, deeper downfield, and Crowder doesn't get all the same volume.
And I want to point this out as well, is that when I say Crowder, I'm not saying he's going to have 122 targets again. I'm dropping him down by maybe 20, 25 targets. So I think he'll still be around 100. The ADP is just great.
I wrote it down, Fancy. You said 122 targets again for Jamison Crowder. You did say it. I've got it written down.
Well, you're not listening to me, Howard.
The Jets could also get Herndon back on the field, and that could take away some targets on they didn't have. So,
oh, come on, raise your hand if you fell for the Chris Herndon talk last year. Come on, anybody pick him up off of waivers?
I had Griffin.
I drafted him in a couple leagues.
There you go. Right,
he's good. He's good. He just got suspended. Wasn't in shape. It happens.
Absolutely. All right.
Play for the Jets. It happens more often.
It really does. It's so depressing sometimes. It's so bad.
Now you know how we feel as Mets fans, Howard.
Right. Well, that's why it balances out for me. Like,
but at least the Mets get to the World Series occasionally. Jets don't get to the Super Bowl.
Occasionally, you did it once in 20 years now. I mean, you've got a great chance for that to happen this year, though, in the truncated season.
Did it twice in 15 years.
What?
2000 and 2015.
You guys were in the World Series in 2015?
Yes.
Yeah.
I must have been drinking heavily.
I remember watching that.
Oh, you lost to the Royals. That's right. Yeah. You know what? Fish was actually in San Francisco at the same time of that World Series. So, obviously that I missed that one.
Game ones of the World Series do not go well for Mets closers. Benitez familia.
All right, can we stop talking about this now?
Oh, I
will say this, though. So they were replaying a lot of the 2015 games, and I was at some of the playoff games. Seeing that on TV and the excitement, man, I really missed that a lot, man. There's nothing like playoff baseball at Citi Field or Shea Stadium, man. I missed the hell out of that. Seeing that on TV, and I was at game one for the Cubs, so I never saw it on TV. So I just had it on in the background the other day. I was like, man, I missed this.
I just want to point this out. My record at Mets playoffs games all time, 3-0. 2 World Series wins, both game 3s in 2015, and also the same game you were at, Adam. NLCS game 1.
I've seen losses, but I've actually seen quite a few playoff wins. But game 4 of the Subway Series, before I can even sit in my seat, that damn Derek Jeter hit a home run. Piece of crap.
Oh, Derek Jeter.
Paid $350 for that seat.
There we were with Ray Ordonez. All right, back to the football talk here. Jed Piacenti, rookie, you think is going to make the biggest impact this season?
I think it's going to be Michael Pittman Jr. He's the one that has the clearest, cut job out there across from T.Y. Hilton. He's a different kind of receiver than T.Y. Hilton. He's this big-bodied guy. He got better every year in college. And I think they've got Phillip Rivers now. They'll be throwing in the ball. I think there should be no problem with that connection. And if T.Y. Hilton's also an injury guy, so I don't think there's any chance this guy's not going to get opportunity. And opportunity turns into numbers when we come to fantasy football.
I like that Pittman call. Anybody shaking their head no on that Pittman call? Yeah, I didn't think so. Fensty, rookie, impact, who?
Oh, my favorite rookie of all the tape that I watched, Cam Akers. I mean, I've mentioned this before on many streams that it's like watching a video game with him. This guy's going to be breaking a lot of tackles. And I don't care what the Rams coaches or staff, I don't care what they say. We have 3 great running backs, in the words of Howard Bender. That's lip service. He's going to be awesome. And this is a guy that you could get in the 5th round right now. If I'm in the draft with any of you, you better be ready to pay up because I'm going to go after him likely in the 4th round. I like him that much. I don't think it's going to be a competition. Maybe he's a little active in the passing game as well, but I'm thinking that this guy is very skilled. I'm thinking that he's not going to be in a crowded backfield. I love him. 5th round all day for me.
Damn. No fear of Darrell Henderson taking away all that passing work, huh?
0.
I mean,
he took away some of the passing work, but when it comes to rushes, it's going to be Akers.
I mean, Fancy, you said he had 30 catches in college. That's actually not bad for a running back in college.
That was the 4 years, though.
Season.
That was over 4 years, John.
Okay. I thought you were saying over.
No, he's just joking. It was last year.
Okay, then I was gonna say I don't have it in front of me, obviously, but having the 30 catches in a season for college is actually pretty good for a running back. So believe it or not, he's probably more active in the passing game than you're giving him credit for.
All right, Adam, here you go. Rookie, you want to plant your flag into right now?
Yeah, I mean, Edwards-Hilaire's easy, so I won't go on that. And I just don't see a lot of the wide receivers having big impacts this year just because no one landed in a great spot. I mean, Pittman's a good one. It's double-digit rounds, but so I'm going to go – I agree with Akers, man. I mean, to get a running back that could start in the Rams offense that's still going in the 5th round, especially since if I can – draft at the top half of the draft, get that running back, and then go 3 straight receivers or 2 receivers and an elite tight end, and then come back with Akers. I'm good with that. And if it doesn't work out, it's not a big deal. I've said this numerous times. I'll just figure out my RB2 throughout the season. But I think Akers is in a good spot. He ran behind a terrible offensive line at Florida State. And the Rams, I think, had a need for a running back. They're not enthralled with Henderson at all. They were very disappointed with him in training camp last year. Maybe he needs another year to figure out the system, but it doesn't seem like they're enthralled with him at all. Malcolm Brown is just, a mediocre veteran. So I think Akers is in a really good spot. And, I like the price. I'm interested to see if it starts to rise. It really hasn't, but 5th round for a running back that could carry the bulk of the touches in that backfield, I like that price.
Me too.
Getting all emotional hearing you agree with Fensty like that. That
No.
It's probably not going to happen again. So don't.
No, I know. This was like a momentous thing.
Like-
Like, mark this down. Like, Matt Sells, our producer. I'm gonna need that audio clip. I'm gonna need the video clip here of Adam Ronis actually agreeing with Justin Fensterman on Cam Akers. I like Akers too. I really do.
Me too.
So big fan. Great picks all around. Again, check out Rookie Sleepers and Busts in the Fantasy Alarm Draft Guide. Now, our cover boy for the Draft Guide, Michael Thomas. Phenomenal season, record-breaking season last year. Will he reign supreme as football's number one wideout this year? Or is there somebody you guys think lurking somewhere in the shadows who could end up supplanting Michael Thomas? I'm actually going to start with Adam here because this was one of the topics that he wanted to discuss.
Yeah, I think Thomas will be number one. I mean, just because of the amount of targets he gets. But I think if there's anyone that takes him down, and I don't think it's close, so I'm waiting for someone to come at me on this, it's Davante Adams, man. I mean, people don't realize how good this guy is. And when I see people not taking him second at wide receiver, they're making a huge mistake. The Packers did nothing to address the wide receiver position, something that we talked endlessly about throughout the draft. Aaron Rodgers has to be comfortable with you. He loves Davante Adams, man. He was first in points per game in PPR formats in 2018. And as bad of a year as people think he had because he didn't get to double-digit touchdowns for the first time in 4 years, he still was 6th in points per game in PPR formats at the wide receiver position. He had 11.3 targets per game in 2018, 10.6 last year. Let's not forget, he was dealing with turf toe. He came back. He wasn't completely healthy, but when he was, that guy was a beast. From weeks 9 to 17, he averaged 11.4 targets per game. Over the final 9 weeks of the season, only Michael Thomas averaged more fantasy points per game, and Adams had a target share of 31%. He had at least 93 receiving yards in his last 5 games, including the 2 playoff games, and he averaged 122 yards in those games. So, I mean, Davante Adams could easily finish as a top overall wide receiver. I'd give it to Thomas, but for me, it's Davante Adams, clearly number 2. And I see sometimes him going 4 or 5, and I think that's a big mistake.
I feel like Jen wants to say something right now,
Okay,
right? You want
I-
to chime in on Davante Adams?
I think Davante Adams probably is the number 2, but I think there's a number 3 that is very, very close. And it's someone we talked about a lot yesterday, and maybe the helium's just getting too much, but Allen Robinson had 154 targets last year for 98 catches. That was with a crap quarterback. There's no more Taylor Gabriel, as we said. His targets will probably only go up. He has the opportunity to get every bit as many catches as Davante Adams. It's kind of the same situation, right? Davante is really the only real receiver there, and it kind of looks like Allen Robinson may be the only major receiver there, because what are you going to do? Go to the run game with Chicago's David Montgomery? I don't think so. I know all you guys love the Chicago Bears apparently, but not so much. He's not as good as you think he is. So I really think I know this sounds crazy, but I think Allen Robinson has a real shot. I still think it's going to be Michael Thomas. I would still edge him out by Davante Adams, but I would not be surprised if Allen Robinson moves way up there. And I know that I'm probably higher on him than most, but if you look at it, again, opportunity.
All
I
right.
love Robinson, but he doesn't have that ceiling. He just doesn't. You got to take Tyreek Hill over him, Julio Jones.
Yeah, but Tyreek Hill has to share it with more receivers. And I understand Tyreek Hill was someone else I considered because he didn't play.
Tyreek Hill was top 5 wide receiver with all those guys when he was healthy.
I looked up Tyreek Hill's numbers, and he didn't have as many targets. He doesn't get as many targets. Even in 2018, he didn't have as many targets as.
He doesn't need those targets though, because he gets a ton of yards and touchdowns.
But if we're talking about PPR, we're talking about catches. So last year, so he had
count too. Tyreek Hill has been
They do count.
top receiver.
But he has a much better quarterback. I get it. But just imagine that the quarterback that Allen Robinson has is 20% better. It's possible he could be that guy. I'm just saying. Those are my top 4. Tyreek Hill will be up there, but I'm going to just be the person that says something a little crazy on this live stream, and I'm going Allen Robinson.
I mean, I'm the biggest Allen Robinson fan, but he doesn't have a shot to finish as number 1 or number 2.
Adam, you know what he finished? I think it was like with Blake Bortles that year. We had 1,400 yards.
Oh, yeah. He was one of the top receivers. I think it was, 80, 1,200? Yeah, he had a huge year.
Yeah, it was 1,400 yards and 8 scores. I forget the exact amount of catches that he had, but I'm sure he had to have finished a top 5 season there. So I think his ceiling could be there if Foles is a little bit better. I actually looked at him myself. I didn't want to go too chalky with this question either. Like, I obviously, Hopkins is a guy that could be there. Julio, Tyreek. I went with Odell Beckham though. Again, a guy who played hurt last year. Baker Mayfield obviously limiting the potential upside, but he still had 133 targets. He had 70 catches, still had managed 1,000 yards. If they have any sort of better end zone presence, there's a possibility for him to score more because he only had 4 touchdowns last year. He's a guy going in the 3rd or 4th round. So again, there's a lot of guys up in the early rounds that are more likely. But I mean, if we're looking at, a guy that has potential outside of those first few rounds, I think Odell Beckham has as good a chance as any in terms of ceiling.
Does it concern you, though, that we really haven't seen that huge year from him for 3 straight years now?
I mean, a little bit, but he was hurt for one of them, and then he had to play with one of the worst quarterbacks in football, Eli.
Well, he's hurt for 2 of them. He played with the sports hernia last year.
But at least he played through the hernia. I mean, he tore his knee up, right, in 2017, I think it was, with the patella. So, I mean, at least it's not the same knee injury that's bothering him. I just think if he can get any sort of positive quarterback play, which people, again, are on the Baker train, because now he's got a new offensive line for whatever reason, and there's a new coach. A lot of people like to believe that Baker Mayfield can be a good quarterback. If that's the case, Beckham, if healthy, should be the primary beneficiary of that, and we saw monster seasons out of him before under Eli. So, again, just a guy you're getting outside the top 2 rounds that has a ceiling that we're looking for.
All right. No retort there? Anyone? Crap on Baker. It's time. It's your opportunity. Fensty, go ahead. You're up then. Let's hear it.
I'm not going to visit Hot Take City like some other people. I'm just going to go with Davante Adams. And, again, you're looking at top 20 in targets last year. I mean, this guy played in 12 games. A lot of the guys, obviously, in the top played 15, 16. So a lot of people are going to look at the yardage, and that's where I think it's going to stop why he's not going a little bit higher in drafts, Davante Adams. It'd be like, oh, you didn't have 1,000 yards. Okay. Who cares? Look at Green Bay. One of the biggest stories since the draft has been, where are the receivers on this team? Nowhere. I'll take this guy all day. So with that, I know I've said all day a lot. I'm going to stop saying it. It's done. But Davante Adams is the one wide receiver I think that can beat him out. But I don't think it's going to happen. Can't guard Mike for a reason. So I'm still going Michael Thomas, number 1.
You guys don't have any injury concerns with Davante Adams?
Why? He came back healthy from turf toe. All
right. Just making sure.
I mean,
getting older, Ted.
He was great when he came back down the stretch. He's 27. He's 27.
I mean, if that's the question, I mean, shouldn't we have injury concerns with Odell Beckham Jr. then, who was brought up as well? I mean, that'd be the same question. I know that. I'm just saying because he was brought up. I didn't blame you. I'm just saying because he was brought to the table here. And if we're going to go and say who's going to beat out Michael Thomas, and one of the guys brought up was Odell Beckham Jr., what Adam, you said, it's not just one season. 2 of the last 3 he's been hurt?
No, I actually think that's a really good call. I didn't think anyone would bring Beckham on the show. But I thought it was going to be like the top 5. No, it's a good call because Beckham, his first 3 years in the league, was tearing it up with the crappy Eli Manning. So, and he did play hurt last year. So we've seen it before. We know he has that level, and they did target him a lot last year. But he was banged up and played through it. I guess the biggest question with Beckham is, what's the target share going to be? But you got to think he's going to get most of them, even if they are run heavy. So I do think Beckham is a good call. I do. I didn't expect anyone to bring him up. I didn't think Robinson would be brought up. By the way, Adams is 1 year older than Allen Robinson, so come on.
Yeah, my one downside,
that's an extra year.
Downside with Davante Adams was just the investment that Packers seemingly made with the running game. I mean, they took the tight end, turned fullback in the third round. They took Dylan in the second round. They already have Aaron Jones there. Like, I was curious if they were going to, really focus on maybe running the football more, and that will limit.
And you guys are worried they're going to go Jordan Love?
What is Aaron Rodgers going to throw the ball 300 times?
But I mean, like, if he throws less,
touchdowns
it's going to limit the upside. Hey, that was just my initial thinking.
How does it limit his upside if he's getting the bulk of the targets? I just said he had a 31% target share from week 9 on. Why do you think that's going to change this year when they have no one else?
Well, I mean, I just say if they're throwing less, 31% target share of less passes is less opportunities to get football.
Okay, even the worst team. What's his pass attempts going to be? 530? I mean, come on. They're not going to throw 4. This is not Lamar Jackson throwing 401 times.
No,
even if and I don't think they're. Also, keep this in mind: the Packers were 13-3. They had one of the best records in games of 7 points or fewer. That's not happening again. They overachieved last year. I said it throughout the playoffs. Justin knows this. I was going at Ani Sridhar, one of the producers, because he had all the money on the Packers to go for, and I'm like, dude, it's a mistake. They sucked. They overachieved. There's no way they're going to be able to play like this again. So and again, even if they pass, if they have the same ratio, Adams is getting all those targets. Aaron Rodgers does not trust these other guys. It's going to be Davante Adams. And just, again, go look at his game log for week 9 on. Look at his playoff performances. He's getting back to double-digit touchdowns. And I think I saw a stat over the last 2 years, the only guys to average 20 points in PPR, Davante Adams, Michael Thomas, Antonio Brown.
But seeing as how he is the only receiver, you don't think opposing defenses might be able to figure that out and limit it a little bit?
They figured it out the last 3 years.
They didn't figure it out last year.
That's true. So. Well, I just hope you're getting Aaron Rodgers and not Jordan Love. That's all I'm saying.
That could definitely.
You don't think Devin Funchess
things around?
Makes an impact, is what you're saying.
You think Funchess is going to have an impact?
No. Oh, okay. I was making a joke. I was like, you don't think Devin Funchess is going to make an impact?
Oh, Devin Funchess. That's just the worst. I'll give a shout out to Alan Lazard for being an underrated guy. I'm a big fan of his. But yeah, obviously Davante Adams is the straw that stirs the drink in Green Bay, so to speak. So, all right, well, there you go. Your wide receiver, number 1 overall wide receiver discussion. We'll table that for a little bit. Before we get back to some sports, a little debate on the old Twitter machine yesterday. Just curious from everybody's standpoint here right now. And I'll start with John because I saw you were leading the charge on this call yesterday. Go-to cereal in the morning, right? I mean, not everybody always eats cereal. I'm sure we'll hear somebody say, oh, no, I just don't like the carbs and the sugar in the morning. But nevertheless, who doesn't love a good, nice bowl of cereal there? John, your go-to cereal.
Yeah, so the one in the Twitter conversation that we had back and forth, I posted Waffle Crisp, which unfortunately Post decided to discontinue, which just crushed all of my childhood. That was like my favorite cereal of all time. So if I have to go ahead and now in my later adult stages of life at 31 years old, I've gone ahead and moved on to Cinnamon Honey Bunches of Oats. That's the cereal of choice right now in my household. So I guess would be my current favorite, given it's the one I tend to always gravitate towards.
Fensty, how about you?
So I don't eat cereal now, but my favorite cereal of all time, Reese's Puffs. Like the slogan, it's having candy for breakfast. That's really what it is. And it's not only that, it's not only the cereal itself. For those that don't know what it is, what planet have you lived on, number 1? Number 2, it's essentially Cocoa Puffs, essentially with chocolate and peanut butter puffs in there. So it's a great, and not only that, guys, but you put it in a big bowl, you let it sit there for a little bit, you drain the milk, you put the milk in the fridge, let it cool off. You have yourself a nice Reese's peanut butter cup smoothie. It's almost like getting 2 for the price of 1. That's a free square right there. It's the best cereal ever made. Very unhealthy.
The fact that Justin Fensterman strains his cereal milk just...
It's that darn good, Jen. Trust and just.
All right, Adam, you're getting a little long in the tooth. I'm assuming it's a bowl of Mucilix for you. What's up?
You're older than me, buddy, and you got a lot more gray in that beard, so look in the mirror. But I don't eat cereal hardly at all. I don't think I've had a bowl of cereal in 2020. Tons of sugar, man. I've really tried to cut sugar out. The only sugar I really have is with coffee and an occasional dessert. I really don't eat a lot of candy. But if I had to pick one, I'm going to go boring and healthy, and it's Cheerios, man. I'm Fruity Pebbles. That's all sugar, bro. Just take a box of sugar and drink it. I mean,
You and toddlers everywhere are a big fan of Cheerios, so you know.
You and toddlers.
Cheerios are good.
Adam's sitting in the high chair, right? We're gonna take him out to the fantasy alarm dinner. We're gonna put him in a high chair, and we're gonna just throw up like a handful of Cheerios right in front
I
of
don't
him.
really eat them though, man. I'm not a big cereal person. I don't know why.
Adam, you ever have them without milk?
Have I had it without milk?
Yeah,
but I prefer.
They're much better without milk. John, you know this argument before. We talked about it on Family.
Yeah, I disagreed with it.
No, but let me tell you, Ryan Hallam tried it and he loved it. He endorsed it. He texted me endorsing it afterwards.
Did you say Ryan Hallam endorsed it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Ryan Hallam
You used this argument immediately.
So Sal's, Hallam, and you all like plain Cheerios. Yeah, great.
Adam, let me suggest a box of rice checks. No sugar in there. Quite good. Quite tasty.
It's quite good.
Jen, how about you?
Yeah, so I'm glad I wasn't the first one to say it, but I really don't eat cereal. I think the last time I ate cereal was in college. And yeah, I know that was only like 3 years ago, but I had to go back those 3 years and try to figure out what that cereal was.
For
and
what,
it
your
was
third master's degree?
Are you a PhD, Jen? We didn't know.
Or was this finally getting your community college degree?
It was actually cosmetology school. But anyway, Quaker O's. Have you guys ever had them? Probably not. It's the sleeper pickup cereal. They're like, they're filled with Quaker Oats. They have a little bit of a honey flavor. They're like a corn and rice thing, and you don't need to put sugar on them, just milk. And I used to eat them for meals in college because I was broke, and it was delicious.
And you didn't hit on enough guys to get them to buy you food?
I didn't. You may have noticed from my dad's photos that I went through a chubby stage, probably from the Quaker O's.
Nothing wrong with chubby girls.
No,
nothing wrong.
I like them.
Me too. Come on.
Okay.
Don't be fat shaming on this show. This show is not about fat shaming here.
Yeah, I don't discriminate. I don't.
No one was buying my cereal in college. I was paying for my own. I was working. I was going 18 and a half hours and working the night.
Pebbles?
No. I mean, listen, you know what? I've always been a sucker for the Frankenberry. I know a lot of people go for the Count Chocula. I'm not like a huge like chocolate cereal guy. So the Frankenberry with the strawberry, and that makes like a nice little strawberry milk there. But I dig the rice checks. They were definitely in there.
I like rice checks.
Captain Crunch with Crunch Berries. How about that?
Captain Crunch Berry is for sure a top 5 cereal. It should be in everybody's platform there.
What are you talking about? It's like you got a peanut butter like cereal, and then you've got the Crunch Berries in there for the sweetness. No,
they're not real berries. They're just these like tart.
Shocking. They're not real berries. Really? Because it's so weird because Captain Crunch is a bona fide captain.
It's real pirate.
Here's a ship.
Well, there's real fruit in those loops.
Jen Piacenti has just ruined my entire life right now by outing the fact that Crunch Berries are not real berries.
And wrestling is not real either. Let me just break you.
Whoa. It's real to me, darn it.
And there aren't enough vowels in a bowl of alphabets to make a proper sentence.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's what I've tried.
All right. Let's table that discussion here. How about this one? I thought this was actually a really good one. Jen came up with this topic. If you could magically move one player to another team, any sport. I mean, he has to stay in the sport that he plays. But if you could move one player to another team in any sport, who would it be, and to what team would you move him to? Jen, we'll start with you since this was yours.
Well, I have a whole lot of ideas.
Well, we just want one, thank you.
But I'm going to give you one, and I'm going to say I would like to see Mike Trout playing for the Colorado Rockies, just because I want to see one season of him batting in Coors Field and see what kind of numbers that guy could put up.
Right, I like that. Does he break the home run record?
Right, that's it. Maybe, and combine that with the speed and all that. Can you imagine what the numbers would look like for your fantasy team if Colorado had Mike Trout? Oof.
I like that. I like that very much. That's a good one. That's a doozy. Let's see. I'm sure we're going to go to the NBA here with Justin Fensterman.
And you are so right, Howard Bender. That's why you get paid the big bucks here.
Shocker.
So we're going to go.
I'd like to see Trae Young go to the Knicks because I love the Knicks and the Knicks
me,
suck.
Howard Bender. That's a horrible impression. But I would like to see Kevin Love go to the San Antonio Spurs. The reason I want to see that is because I think anybody that bet on the Spurs prior to the news that LaMarcus Aldridge had surgery 2 months ago. Where was the report on that? I feel bad. The Spurs are riding a 22-season streak of making the playoffs. And everybody now hopeful with the new format for the NBA that the Spurs still have a shot. All of a sudden it comes out that 2 months ago, LaMarcus Aldridge, one of their stars, one of their only big men, had a procedure on his shoulder. So with that, because of that misleading us, how that wasn't reported, I don't know. It's been 2 months. Give them Kevin Love because I love, pun intended, Kevin Love when he was the big man in the middle, not the guy shooting 3 after 3 after 3, stretching the floor. I miss the old Kevin Love, the Minnesota Timberwolves Kevin Love, and that's just what the Spurs need if they're going to cover any ground and have a shot at keeping the streak alive. I'm with you, Spurs fans. Get your Kevin Love.
All right, Adam, you gonna stick in the same sport?
No, if I had to pick one, Mike Trout to the Mets. But honestly, you guys are not going to believe this. When I first read that, the first person that came to mind, this is completely off the wall, Brandon Belt. I want to see Brandon Belt, and I can't say Yankee Stadium because I can't root for that team to succeed, but I want to see Brandon Belt in Miller Park. That guy has gotten robbed of so many home runs. It's 420 to right center. I've watched a lot of Giants games late at night, and the ball jumps off his bat, and it's caught 418 feet. Look at his career. 47 home runs and 1,756 at-bats at home, 82 on the road in 1906. I didn't even realize this till I looked it up. Brandon Belt has never had a season of 20 home runs in the major leagues. Always has a good OBP. This guy's a good player that has gotten robbed because of the park he plays in. So as soon as I saw that question, I don't know why, I kind of thought about this for years. Brandon Belt in a hitter's park, so Miller Park because I can't say Yankee Stadium.
Okay, you could have gone with Camden Yards. That would have been another place to see him hit. And all right, let's wrap it up here with Patrick Mahomes to the New England Patriots. John, what do you got?
Yeah, I want Tom Brady to come back to me, please.
Aww.
Can we? No, I'm just kidding. Realistically, I want Karl Anthony Towns in the Boston Celtics. The Celtics are always just a center, seemingly away. That's a position that they've had a legitimate hole in for now for a while. And I know Al Horford, he was there during the transition years. He brought playoff basketball along with Isaiah Thomas back into Boston. He kind of was a core member of that team, but he was never an elite center. I want Karl Anthony Towns on Boston playing with Jason Tatum, playing with Jaylen Brown. Make that happen, which could potentially be a thing because he wants out of Minnesota. So that's my play. I want Towns in Boston.
All right. Well, there you go. If we could move one player magically, some very nice options there.
But who would you move, Howard Bender?
Oh, this isn't about me. This is all about you guys. Sorry, I can't
He's here to
help
facilitate the conversation, not give an opinion,
Exactly. Nobody cares about what I have to say.
Wait, does it have to be an active player?
Does it have to be an active player?
Yeah.
He's got to be alive.
They have to be alive? Could it be a retired athlete?
Sure. Why not? Who are you breaking out of retirement?
I changed my vote. I would move Derek Jeter to get suspended for PEDs.
He never took them.
Well, he didn't get caught. He might have.
Never took them, baby. Come on.
You know what he should have done? He should have joined the NBA.
You guys can hate on Jeter all you want. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that, Jen, I'm sorry that you slept with Derek Jeter and he didn't give you a gift bag. Adam, I'm sorry he steals all the girls from you. All right? It just happens. All right? He's a phenomenal guy. Wrapping up today's show here, guys. One final question, because I'll tell you what, with the NFL season coming up and hopefully I did hear nice reports that they're going to John sent to me earlier that they're talking about cutting down on the preseason games, increase the amount of training camp at least, have the season start on time. I'm making it my mission this year, the NFL DFS, all right? I'm making it my mission that not only people from FA Nation are going to start cashing, but I want everybody in the family here who works for Fantasy Alarm, I want everybody to hit it big. All right, I want 25K, 50K, 100K wins for each and every one of us, just so we can all just kind of sit back and enjoy ourselves. So, with that, I'll say this. After you win your $50,000 playing NFL DFS this season, what's the first thing you're going to buy? Adam, what's the first thing you're going to buy?
Two things. One is
date
a car.
And
No. One is a car because I got an old car and I haven't bought a new one just because I don't drive much, so I don't need it. But it's coming soon. But I would also pay for a trip to Africa. I just think I'm gonna love it there. I've never visited there before, and I might never come back either. So, but trip to Africa.
My dad did an African safari like 5 years ago. The pictures are absolutely wild. I'll tell you that.
Okay, I'd like to see some of them.
Adam, are you there looking for you? You told me you never wanted to get married. You're gonna end up with a wife.
I don't know that. I mean, that's something that could happen. You don't know that. It's just because it hasn't happened now. Someone gave me good advice. They said get married like when you're 50. They said just live your life, and then as you get older, find someone to get married. So that might be the path I'm on.
Oh, there it is. All right. Well, here's hoping that you win your 50K doing that. John, 50K, what's your first purchase?
Yeah, I'm in the long savings plan right now of trying to buy a house. So 50K would certainly go towards that down payment for that. So that's exactly where that money would go.
Wow, that's so responsible of you. Great.
Houses are expensive, Howard. I don't know if you know that or not. So.
Property's a good investment.
Yeah.
Sure. Landowners, that's what it's all about. It's owning land. All right, Fensty.
I'm going to go with an all-inclusive vacation on an island somewhere for me and my wife.
Jeffrey Epstein Island?
No, not that island. No.
Are you going to Fight Island?
No, I'm not going to Fight Island. You know what? I'll specify then. I'm going to go to St. Lucia. I went there for my honeymoon. I stayed at Sandals, and it was just amazing. All-inclusive, all you can eat, all you can drink. And you know me, I love being a chalk play. If I could be a chalk play 5 times a day, I would. So with that, that's the first purchase. I haven't been on a vacation, real vacation. I don't count Florida because that's really going to visit family. I haven't been on a vacation, guys, in at least 4 years. And I might get locked out of the house if I don't change that within the next 12 months.
I've been threatened with that for a long, long time, Fetsy. You just do little mini weekends. You don't need to. She won't lock you out of the house.
No, everyone should take a vacation once a year.
Oh, all right. Well, then you know what? I'm going to take next week off.
Go ahead.
Do you follow fish around for like half the year?
Seems like a good time.
I do it in little spurts, little weekends here and there. You know what? I don't think I've ever taken the full, the 10-day vacation ever in my life. Jen Piacenti, finish it up for us here. What are you going to do with your $50,000?
Gonna buy my own dinner.
What was the last time
you my own way?
The last time you did that? 2002?
No, actually, it's funny. I joke about it, but yeah, no, regularly. Come on.
Because of quarantine. Why don't you just get some guys to Cash App you money and get you dinner? I'm sure you can do that. Go on these apps, man. Trust me. You can get it done. Just say, hey, yeah, Cash App me this and we'll talk. They'll do it. I'm putting ideas in that. Let's go in business together.
Okay. All right.
Onlyfans.com/Adam Ronis for any donations.
Hey, I'm thinking about it. It might happen.
Fans only. In that, I would get a car. That's what I would
get a car?
Living in LA now. Yeah, it would be nice to have. And I would like to get a nice car, like a cool car, like a Porsche or something a little. I worked for Porsche for a while and I love those cars, or maybe a Ferrari from 2003. I would get a cool car. If I had
you know what you can do? Put an Amazon wish list on your Twitter bio. Maybe some guys will buy you stuff.
Some guys will buy it for you, absolutely.
Why have Adam and I not been having our own business meetings here on the side?
We're going to business together.
That's true. If you put an Amazon wish list in your Twitter bio, people will buy you things. I've seen some crazy stuff.
Oh, yeah. If you have some guys that are infatuated with you, yeah, they'll do it. Trust me, I've seen it. I might do it. It might not work for me, but I'll try it. Why not?
There was legit a Netflix documentary on this. Girls.
Really?
Oh yeah. People, they were buying them whatever they wanted on Amazon.
I'll show you.
Okay, I'm gonna put
I'll
together
give you-
my
I'll show you
wish
an
list.
example of someone who does it, and you can see.
Okay.
All I ask for is like 10-15%, since I put this idea in your head.
Okay. All right. You can have 10% of my shoe collection.
No, like, come on. I don't need the shoes. They gotta give you something that you don't want. Just throw it to me.
Okay.
There you go. All right.
A week. That's
Deal's
all.
done. 15%, the max I
One
Oh,
pay.
person, Howard, can you like one person zells Ronis money for his birthday, and suddenly he's an expert.
No, it's more than that. I've seen this stuff. I'm telling you right now, the last few months, the females, they are piling up the money. It's crazy.
They are. 100%.
And I've been working like a schmo.
These little Twitter influencers who are, putting their wish lists out.
Exactly 0 people.
Well, I'm telling you, if you steer it in a different direction, Jen, you can get anything your heart desires. For me, I'll just say this, even though you're not here to talk to me, you're here to talk to my panel or listen to my panel, $50,000. I donated all to charity. And you guys are all a bunch of selfish sons of bitches. How about that?
Yeah,
I thought you were going to open up your own dog sanctuary.
Charity link can be found in my Twitter bio, Amazon.com, wishlist / Jen Piacenti.
I would start a dog rescue for sure if I had that kind of money. That would be wonderful. That's going to do it for us here on Table That Discussion. Big thanks to all of you out there for watching. Big thanks to our producer, Matt Sells. For Justin Fensterman, Jen Piacenti, Adam Ronis, and Jon Impemba, I'm Howard Bender. This has been Fantasy Alarm TV. We'll catch you next time.